Please excuse the poor lighting and the fact that I have no microphone. This is important. It was brought to my attention today, i.e. I saw it on my YouTube, that MatPat posted a video on GT Live talking about the Welcome Home update for Halloween. Let me be the first to state that I was working on this video before that, but life got in the way, so now it's coming out. MatPat, please give me a chance. I swear. This is such a good theory. Okay, enjoy the video.
On Friday, October 13th, 2023, avid Welcome Home enthusiasts were pleasantly surprised with an update of the Welcome Home website, where costumed Wally Darling presented more unearthed Welcome Home media. Most importantly, an audiobook titled Happy Halloween to Boo and Yours, which followed Sally Starlet hosting a Halloween party for her fellow neighbors. What caught viewers off guard were the costumes mentioned. Normal detailings of Eddie Dear as a Frankenstein, Frank Frankly as a vampire, Poppy Partridge as a pumpkin, and obviously, Wally Darling himself as a devil were expected. But our main character of this audiobook, the usually sunny Sally Starlet, was clad in a black and white clown suit, which was a Pedrolino costume, as she continuously claimed. Now, I knew about Commedia Dell'Arte from my 8th grade drama class, so when I heard this mention, I knew I had to cover it. First of all, we have to go into what Commedia Dell'Arte is. Direct from Google, when Googling a short summary of the Commedia dell'arte, you get this description. Commedia dell'arte is a theatrical form characterized by improvised dialogue and a cast of colorful stock characters that emerged in northern Italy in the 15th century and rapidly gained popularity throughout Europe. Commedia dell'arte is a showman theme that originated in the 1400s and is still used today. The idea of a set group of characters with certain character traits that endure repeated shenanigans appealed to the early theatergoer and continues today. For example, the Harlequin character is normally seen as your hero character, with his counterpart, Columbina, as the love interest or a smart compatriot. But first of all, what is Welcome Home? Direct from Clown's website and the landing page of the Welcome Home website, you get this. With a hop, skip, and a jump, you are ushered into the colorful, serendipitous world of Welcome Home. It only takes one stroll down the neighborhood to know that this is just the nicest little place you've ever seen. Watch Wally and his colorful array of friendly neighbors learn about the vibrant world around them and take part in nonsensical fun. Serendipitous is defined as occurring or discovered by chance in a happy or beneficial way, and nonsensical means having no meaning and making no sense. The characters involved in this fictional art project by creator Clown are Wally Darling, Julie Joyful, Barnaby B. Beagle, Poppy Partridge, Sally Starlet, Eddie Dear, Frank Frankly, Howdy Pillar, and the ninth and slightly controversial neighbor, Home. Home is Wally's house, and though it is slated to be the ninth neighbor who communicated with onomatopoeia, such as clicks, squeaks, and generally housey sounds, it does not have its own character page. If anything, sometimes it's difficult to determine who truly is the host in charge of the show, Wally or Home. Comparisons of these two mediums, however, are futile without direct juxtaposition of each. These are all speculation. I have looked through the many characters of Commedia dell'arte, of which, in one set, there can be as few as 3, or as many as 30. However, I believe I have determined the 8 main characters of the Commedia dell'arte. I do have to make another disclaimer. This is purely a theory. This is all my own speculation. However, I truly think that this could line up quite nicely with what Clown is trying to tell us. Our first example is Pantalone, who lines up perfectly with Wally Darling. We have him serving a master, but is conflicted in all of his shows. In this case, we can compare that to Wally and Home's relationship, as we see Home kind of as the pinnacle of who Wally wishes to serve, but also the fact that Wally himself has to serve the people. Pantalone was also known as Pantalone the Needy, which is obviously low on the food chain. Well, first off, we can look at Wally, who's short, but we can also see in all of his sayings, he says the line, "wave up high." Another interesting aspect of Pantalone's character is he is always old. In this case, we can see Wally as the host of an older cartoon show, Welcome Home. Wally is still present on the page, meaning he's still alive. Someone born in the 60s isn't necessarily ancient, but if Wally is to be the ethereal being that we see him as in all of his lore cuts and all of his audio and all of his background story, then this lines up perfectly. Another thing that Pantalone is, and I'm sure that this doesn't line up because this was purely coincidental, it could have been anyone. Pantalone is old, yet his character has an effect on the youth. Now let's back that up and think about all the fan art that you've seen of this poor puppet. Moving along. Our second example is Poppy as Dottore. Dottore was the intelligent, smart-ish character in all of the Commedia Dell'Arte skits. It didn't exactly mean that he was smart as in, like, book smart, but he could be street smart. Dottore was overly self-loving. In a modern sense, Poppy knows that she should be less full of herself, but should instead be helpful. The other thing is, Dottore was very intelligent. Poppy is much smarter than she lets on. For example, she knows how to avoid conflict and acts like a mother figure to give advice. Dottore also, in anything where there's a larger person, was stereotypically chosen to enjoy food. And I just think it's sweet because Poppy feeds everyone. Our third example is Columbina, who I believe that Julie embodies. Columbina would wear a lot of makeup. Now this was because they were on a stage and they had to have their facial features very visible and very expressive. But then again, you think about it, Julie loves wearing makeup. She loves looking pretty. The concept art, she's either doing her makeup or she's doing her hair, and she's just she loves herself and she makes herself feel pretty. However, Columbina was also seen as a player. And in this case, I wouldn't say that this directly references Julie, but she is friends with everyone. Obviously, in the world we live in today, if you're friends with more than two guys, you're a player. She's seemingly close friends with both Wally and Frank, and I guess in this case it translates over to, oh, she's a player. The third thing is, she's often chaste or is close friends with Arlecchino, which is going to just be referred to as Harlequin for the rest of this because I don't have a good Italian accent, nor do I know the names well enough to just be able to be like, Arlecchino. She's often chaste or close friends with the Harlequin. She and Frank, in this case, are besties, and from character sheets, it would seem that they're dating, but I like to think of this more as a marriage of convenience, because obviously we know that Mr. Deere and Mr. Franklin are, they're married. And that brings us to our fourth character, the Harlequin, who I believe Frank embodies. The Harlequin is known to match Columbina. In this case, we can look at Frank and Julie's outfits. They constantly either go together or they match entirely. He had a very well-known checkered outfit. And all you can think of when I say that is Frank's sweater vest. I'm a sweater person myself. Harlequin was also known as the unlikely hero. Normally, it's not that he didn't want to be the hero, but he was sort of thrust into becoming the hero. There's a well-known picture of Frank laying in a pile of other Franks, holding a red square to his chest. Now, the big thing is, Frank's hands don't look like puppet hands, they look like human hands. So it's implied that the person controlling Frank in the show knew what was going on behind the scenes, both literally and figuratively. There's also a kind of loose theory that Frank is the question answerer from the Playfellow exhibition, though I'm not going to go into that because that's not the point of this. Our fifth character is Il Capitano, who I believe is Howdy. Il Capitano was known as a braggart. He was constantly making up stories about how he was an amazing A, artiste, B, fighter, C, captain, hence the name Capitano. In this case, we can think of this braggart type style as Howdy constantly trying to gain recognition for his store and his wares. He is constantly talking about how he has all the best items on sale. He also prides himself on his store, which is not bad, but it can get kind of annoying with the other characters, and we can kind of see that. One of the things that I found very interesting about Il Capitano was the fact that he's constantly brought up as having the best posture out of everyone in the entirety of Commedia Dell'Arte. In this case, we can connect this to him being a war hero, a lord, a king. But as far as Welcome Home goes, if you look at all the pictures, though they are drawn in a very cartoonish style and they were all made of felt and fabric, and so they didn't exactly stand very straight, they were all kind of slumped and cute. Howdy is the tallest. He has the best posture, and that could be a really small coincidence, but honestly, I think that really connects him to Il Capitano.
Hi, me again. I feel like I'm going to be jumping in and saying a lot of stuff, especially as this video goes on. I'm not realizing how much I messed up. I went back during this take, and I realized that Zanny is how you pronounce it, or Zan. You can say it either way, but I end up pronouncing it both Zanny and Zani for the rest of this video. And I would like to apologize for any confusion. You can say it however you want. It's Z-A-N-N-I. Zani, Zanny. Don't really have a preference. There is no There's no really wrong way to say it. If you want to be really technical, you can look up the official Italian pronunciation, but I'm not going to hold you to that. Thank you.
Obviously, the next one we have is Pedrolino and Sally. Pedrolino was what is known as a zani. A zani was a form of a servant. Normally, these were jesters, and a lot of the underlying characters, such as Harlequin and another character that we'll talk about later who embodies Eddie, were all zannies. They were all not stupid, but they were all very low on the food chain. They were jesters. They served the higher-ups. They served El Capitano, they served Dottore, sometimes they even served Pantalone. In this case, Pedrolino was the most well-known of the lower zani, and I believe that Sally truly encompasses Pedrolino. Pedrolino was a storyteller. Sally Starlet has her own audiobook. She also drops a lot of lore. Pedrolino also enjoyed mischief. Let's look at the name of the party that Sally put together. It's known as the Macabre Menagerie of Monstrous Mischief Making. And I know that's alliteration, but there's mischief in there. Mischief with Pedrolino, mischief with Sally. There's gotta be a connection. She's also known to serve others. And if we can see this as Wally being the devil and Sally falling from the sky, very reminiscent of Lucifer falling from the heavens, then
Why didn't you just say that? I look back on these and I'm like, that can't be the same person.
finally, Pedrolino was known as the two-faced betrayer. And I know Sally's not going to be stabbing somebody in the back, but let's think about it. What does Sally's door have on it? It's a moon and a sun, and it's split down the middle. Also, when you open her character sheet, it's her smiling, but with one eye closed and one eye open. I believe that that is truly the best way that you can show that someone is two-faced without literally having two faces. That was my favorite theory. I really enjoyed making that one. Our second to last one is Brigella, who I believe embodies Barnaby.
This kid can't even read their notes right. What I meant was Barnaby embodies Brigella.
Brigella is a prankster. Barnaby is also a prankster. Brigella was also generally quite large, and not large in the sense of overweight, but large in the sense of he took up the most room on the stage with his stage presence. Barnaby is a performer. Barnaby will always have the biggest voice, the biggest presence. That is what Brigella did. Brigella was also known to serve his master devotedly. Consider this as dogs and their masters. Go forward to think of this as Barnaby and Wally, and how they are best friends. How Barnaby would do anything for Wally, and how Wally might possibly be the devil. We'll get back to that.
No, he won't. There was a part here where I looked up how to pronounce this next name because I couldn't get it, but I'm not going to put it in because it was annoying.
Finally, we have Punchinella as Eddie.
Eddie is Punchinella. I wish I could reach back through and just throttle myself.
Punchinella and Harlequin were constantly together. They were best friends. They were cohorts. They did pranks together. Again, obviously they're in love because why else would they be hanging out together? We have two different characters, and it's not just Harlequin. We have Harlequin and Punchinella. Punchinella was slightly more absent-minded. We can see this through Eddie dropping items, generally taking on more than he can carry, being freaked out by bugs. And finally, I go back to the idea that Harlequin and Colombina were not always supposed to be love interests in all the stories. In many cases, they were compatriots. They were friends. We can see this through Frank and Julie being friends, but Frank and Eddie being lovers. Now let's look at how Clown confirms my theory. First off, we go to Clown's Tumblr. Then the first thing you can see in one of the more recent posts is Frank's buttons, wherein Clown mentions that Frank's buttons are to match Julie's outfit. Going back to what I said about Harlequin and Colombina normally having matching outfits. I just hit my mic, I'm so sorry. Another thing we do is obviously go to the website. This topic is brought up several times. The topic of Commedia Dell'Arte, the fact that nobody understands who Sally's supposed to be, and she has to continually say, I'm Pedrolino, I'm Pedrolino. It's a Pedrolino costume. It's from Commedia Dell'Arte. It's not even just brought up in the audiobook. It's brought up in the extra Halloween answer video. Further examples of this is the fact that it's not just Sally talking about Commedia Dell'Arte, because Eddie knows about it too. We go back to Frank and Julie having matching outfits. Not always, but the majority of the time there's a theme, they're matching. In short, Clown has had this idea for a while. Not exactly the idea that Commedia Dell'Arte is a main theme per se, though this could be the case, but the idea of Welcome Home. From there, it's clear that lots of plans in accordance with this art project have been made and prepared. There's a plot, there's a storyline, there's a set cast, there's a set ending, somewhere in there, somewhere that we will come across. The creation of Welcome Home is controlled and focused, and that is what makes the website, the lore, and the future of this project so interesting and promising. I think that due to the time this project has been put up in late 2022, and due to Clown's inspiration and/or focused baseline for the project, Clown has chosen to make their ulterior motives better known. Now, with this new spooky update, so much lore and additional information has been carefully added in and released on Clown's other platforms, such as Twitter, Tumblr, the website. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps I'm reading far too much into this. But then, perhaps I'm right. Maybe these coincidental moments, these conditional lines, aren't so throwaway after all. Perhaps this neighborhood secrets have been right in front of us this entire time. Be sure to support the creators mentioned in today's video. All sources, including cited sources, mentioned creators, and of course the Clown Illustration website and affiliated platforms, will be in the description below. Support the channel by liking, commenting your thoughts, and subscribing, as everything you offer makes this content better. I also have a TikTok, which can be found in my YouTube bio, as well as my Instagram. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have an awesome day.